Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Builders, Property Editors, and Thor Boosting Productivity session. My name is Rick Schumer. During the day, I work for White Light Computing as the president. We're software developers just like you guys. We do custom applications. We have vertical market applications, and we work with other developers to assist them in producing their applications when they need extra resources or are running into some technology that they're unfamiliar with. My other day job is as a partner in forward-thinking software. There's only one product with this company, and that's CleverFox Backup, which does scheduled backups for those who run applications with FoxPro data, as well as SQL Server data. And it's completely hands-off and is remarkably great and has saved a number of people from losing all their data when they weren't doing backups any other way. I'm also a partner at Geek Gatherings, which is what runs this conference and the Southwest Fox Conference in Arizona. I received the Fox Pro Lifetime Achievement Award back 10 years ago, which is hard to believe. I'm a retired MVP. That's the only time you'll probably ever see Rick Schumer and retired in the same sentence. And I'm also a VFPX administrator, created some tools, written some books from the German FoxPro user group, as well as Henson work, over 100 articles. And the most important bullet point on any of these slides is my email address, which is also in the white paper. If you have any questions during the conference or afterwards, you can reach out to me on my email. A little bit of housekeeping. I really love interactive sessions. So doing this virtually is really like a handicap for me almost, because I like getting the energy from the room and I like the interactive questions that come in. So please post them in the chat. This has been really rewarding. Side effect I was not expecting with the conference. The chat room, if you have experiences you can share with others, as well as questions. Tomorrow I'll be holding those questions for me as I jump in between sections, but I'll be answering them as I go along. I will be doing a Q&A session afterwards to answer any questions that don't get answered during the session. I will also tell you that this session is only 75 minutes. Each time I've rehearsed it, I've had to drop stuff, cut stuff out, or skip over stuff. And I am sorry that I have to do that, but the white paper is 80 plus pages and there's lots more information. In fact, I thought of 3 things this morning when I woke up that I should add to the white paper, and I'll probably do that before I post an update. All right, the agenda today is to introduce you to Builder technology. If you're not familiar with it, we're going to demonstrate builders in several technologies. We're going to jump into property editors, and then we're going to see how you can run some builders that you have through Thor, which is from VFPX. And then I'm going to show a few builders, if we have some time at the end, that I use all the time. All right, so it's time for a poll. Tomorrow's going to be posting a poll. I kind of want to get a feel for where you guys are with builders. And while that's going on, I'll keep going with my slides. The session inspiration for this started in 1995 at the VFP DevCon in San Diego. We were introduced to builders. Now, this is when VFP was not, I think it was just before it went into beta. And I know that John Alden and David Anderson did one of my favorite sessions, maybe of all time, but certainly at that conference. And they basically talked about the builder technology, introduced it to all of us. I walked away with my mind blown, thinking of lots of ideas how we could use this. And that was when builders were barely even implemented within the session itself, within the product itself. Our friend Doug has done numerous sessions and white papers on this topic. Visual Fox Express is a framework that I've used for application development. That is the first framework I've used that had builders built into it. It was significant. I was using MaxFrame at a previous job prior to that, and MaxFrame didn't have any builders at all. So seeing how builders could be useful was really positive. I wanted to do a chapter in MegaFox, 1002 Things You Want to Know About Visual FoxPro book, but that just didn't have time for that. And then I did a session called Get More Productive with VFP that had builders in it, and I knew that I could talk a lot more about them, so I did that. The whole reason I did this session this year is there's a bug in the Builder Manager within builder.app that I wanted to fix for the all builder. If you have one all builder registered, you ran a builder for a object that did not have a builder assigned or registered for it, it would run the all builder automatically without giving you a choice. That bug has annoyed me for more than 10 years. And so I decided if I do this session this year, I'll fix that bug, which I have done. All right, let's see what the poll results are. All right, so it's kind of split pretty evenly, which is good. So I think there's going to be a little bit of something in this session for everybody. Even those who have been building builders for a while may find some tips and tricks, hopefully, that they'll find useful. All right, so let's introduce builders. So what is exactly a builder? Well, it's technology, as I mentioned, it's been built into Visual FoxPro since 3.0. All right, it's an extension of the form and class designers. It's an extension of property sheets. You can use it to generate code. You can go into builders in a reentrant manner, meaning the wizards, you basically start the wizard, you step, you're done. It does whatever it's doing. And if you want to do it again, you redo the whole thing. Builders typically don't have that approach. You're basically working with properties live, which you'll see in a minute. Any tool that can help you create a Visual FoxPro application. Really what builders are shortcuts to putting together source code for your application. A lot of people think it's just for the form or class designer, but you can actually have it generate something as simple as stored procedures in SQL Server. And when I say simple, I mean it's complicated. It can be used to reduce code exposure and exposure to the millions of properties you may have on objects by simplifying just a few that you work with on a regular basis. What can a builder do? Well, literally a builder can do anything that you can do in Visual FoxPro that it allows you to do in code. Okay, you can add and remove properties. You can add and remove methods. You can add and remove objects from the forms or class designer. You can change property values on the fly. You can even modify or add or generate method code for your methods. You can grab the existing property expressions. You can extract out method code that's in your methods. You can do things like create classes, write programs, generate tables, generate stored procedures, even run reports or assemble and build reports. And one of my other favorite ones is generating metadata. In a sense, you really can do almost anything to automate a lot of stuff that you do repetitively or something that's tedious in Visual FoxPro. So when we look at Visual FoxPro, the number of classes, base classes in Visual FoxPro is 44 base classes as of VFP 9. I don't know if Chen's going to be adding more in VFP 10 or VFP Advanced, but for right now, it's 44 base classes. And you can see there's only 15 builders that Microsoft shipped with Visual FoxPro. So what that really means for you and I is that there is lots of room for us to build the addition of more builders for what we need it to do. So let's jump in here. So I built a little demo form here. It shows on the left side the builders that are available. There are more builders available because there's builders for the data environment and cursor adapters and so on. But as far as the visual objects, this is the only builders that are available. All the ones on the right side don't have builders available out of the box in Visual FoxPro. All right, so I mean, the reality is, for the most part, we're going to right-click and then select the builder menu option on the shortcut menu here. If you are running Visual FoxPro without any builders registered, I have all builders registered, meaning when I say an all builder, I should clarify that. An all builder will work with any object type, okay? Not just a specific object. And actually, I wasn't supposed to run it with this dialog. I was supposed to run it with the old dialog. So let's run it with the one that everyone will see. This is the one that ships with Visual FoxPro. All right, so I'm going to run the option group builder because that's an option group that I'm trying to run the builder for. And that just runs the Visual FoxPro out of the box option group builder. I run this builder occasionally because it makes it really simple to add options to the option group. It's just easier in cutting and pasting. So anyways, that's the general gist of a builder is you right click, run builder. There are a number of other ways you can run this. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that's the general idea is it brings up a dialog. You interact with the dialog to do something. It reflects in the designer or in program code or however you have it designed for. Okay, accessing the builders. There's a number of ways to access the builders. I showed you the right click, which is the most common way. The form control toolbar, which is along the left here, has a builder lock button, which is the second from the bottom here. That will allow you when you add a text box, for instance. Oops, I got to turn it on. When you add a text box, it will automatically run the builder as you add objects. The other one is on the form design toolbar up on the top here. The second button from the right is the form builder. So when you click on that, you can run the form builder that's available from Microsoft. They have on the project manager. Oops. On the project manager, if you right click, you can run builder to run the any project builders that you might have registered. From the toolbox, and the toolbox here is over on the left. If you have it set up, you can actually, with an option in the toolbox, I'm going to scroll up here and get a class. Come on. There we go, checkbox. Drag it. It will run the builder automatically if you have a checkbox builder, which I happen to have one. Okay, so that's a number of ways that you can do through the IDE UI. The other thing you can do is you can run it from a command window just by doing a PRG or doing an app or doing the exe, or you can set it up on menus, which you'll see throughout my demonstrations today. All right, let's jump back here. Actually, I wanted to do one thing. Sorry about that. I meant to shut my camera off so you won't see. All right, let's go back to the slides. So I already showed all that. So the implementation, Visual FoxPro ships with builder.app, which is also indicated in the underscore builder system variable. That system variable points which builder manager you're running. There's also an underscore wizard and a wizard.app. You may wonder why wizards are involved with this, but the project builders, for whatever reason, Microsoft included the project builders in the wizard table, in the wizard registration table. So you have three tables involved here. You have builder.dbf, which is your registration table for builders. You have wizard.dbf, which is your registration table for wizards. And then there's a builder d.dbf, which is the builder d metadata table. And we'll talk about that in a bit. The Fox user one, and this, if there's one thing that you can take away from this session that's really important, and this trips me up even to this day. And as a matter of fact, as much as 3 weeks ago, I was struggling with something not working. The builder.dbf and wizard.dbf are registered in the Fox user file, and it points to it. So if you use different Fox user files and they have different records for the wizard and builder tables, you're going to get tripped up if it's not pointing to the same one that you think it's pointing to. So that's one key thing. And I'll show you in a minute how you can manage that. If you have no builders available for an object and you have no all builders registered for an in your registration table, you will get a message that shows on the screen, there are no registered builders of this type. I haven't seen that dialog unless I needed a screenshot for that dialog, because I have all builders registered. So I always get the dialog presented to me on selecting a builder. Can you have more than one builder for a given type? So can you have more than one project builder, more than one form builder, more than one checkbox builder? The answer is yes, you can have as many as you would like. All right, so let's take a look at that. I'm going to show you the metadata editor. I use this quite extensively. It's a little tool that I built to manage the various builder registration tables. Here's the Fox user page that shows the record for builders and wizards and where they're pointing to. You will see that I have mine not in the standard location. They are usually located in the wizards folder under VFP. I have moved mine to the Home 7 folder. And the reason I did that is because of the virtual store and trying to avoid the virtual store. Okay, as I'm modifying my DBFs, I don't want to have a shadow copy in a folder location that's hard to find. I wanted it to be where I can locate it. One caveat to that is the Builder D DBF. Moving that to another location is possible but not advisable, and that is because all the metadata in there is expecting it to be located in the wizards folder, and that reason for that is going to be obvious when you see how Builder D works. All right, so that's the metadata editor. This is available in the downloads, or will be available in the downloads when I get them all posted up. All right. Let's see. Oh, and so yeah, I just wanted to mention one quick thing here. I'm going to run the new Builder Manager demo. So the Builder Manager that I'm running is the new one, and I wanted to just point out a few things to it. You can resize this dialog. You can have large, wider descriptions. I didn't change the table underneath it, but you can, if you see the other one, it's like really small. This one you can widen out. You can show a long amount of description, not just a short description, which it's a memo field. Why not type in lots of information if you like? The type of builder it is, the all builder in this case. And if I go up to the form builder, it shows that it's a form builder, so I know what type of builder I'm running. I usually put that in the description so that it's more obvious to me. But anyways, this works for both the wizards and the builder. The dialogues are updated so that we fixed the bug in the all builders, and then I just made this a little more usable on the interface. All right, any questions so far?
Just one. Paul asks, how do you register a builder?
The registration of the builders is done through the tables. All you have to do is add a record to the builder table. You provided a name, a description if you want some description, and then how you want to run it. In this case, the edit box builder is an app. You can run a PRG, you can run the EXE, or even a class in a class library. It will automatically instantiate that. And I'll show you a number of other ways that you can point to builders and how to run them in a bit. Okay, so just to get up to speed a little bit on the types of code that you're going to write I'm going to show lots of code in a little bit, just so you're going to see real life examples of how things are done. But just to give you a heads up on the types of functions that you may see in Visual FoxPro and wondered ever why you would use something like this, here's some of the code that or functions that you want to become familiar with. A select object is going to get you an object reference to whatever is selected in the designer, whether it's the form designer or class designer. So if you have a command button selected in the designer, what you will get back when you do a select object, it will create an array. In that array, the first element will be the reference to that object. If you have more than one object selected, you'll get an array, a multi-dimensional array, and each row will have a reference to all the objects that are selected. Sys 1270 gives you an object reference to the object under a mouse. I use this a lot in debugging, but it also can become handy if you need to build a builder based on where your mouse, what object your mouse is hovering over. A mouse object gives you an object reference in a different way to where the mouse is. And whether you use Sys 1270 or a mouse object could depend on what you're exactly trying to do. PEM status, you probably used this in code before, but it gives you the status of your members, whether it's read-only, protected, if it's a property event or method or an object, whether it's a user-defined object, whether it's defined or whether it has, whether it was inherited. So there's lots of information there. GetPem returns the current value of a property or the code for an event method at design time. Sys 1269 returns a value to indicate whether a property setting has changed. So you can indicate whether it's the default value or it's something that's changed from the default value. You're going to have write expression and read expression. Those are methods. Events on the objects that allow you to write expressions to properties and read expressions from properties. The write method and read method does exactly that. It lets you write code into an event method or your own custom methods. You can have reset the default, which will do exactly what happens on the property sheet when you reset to the default value or the default condition of a method. Builder and Builder X properties are custom properties that you can add to your base classes. It's something that I highly recommend if you want to integrate builders. And instead of using the builder registration tables, what it will do is use a specific builder that you indicate in the builder or Builder X properties. All the VFP code, everything you're writing here is VFP code. But that doesn't mean that you're limited to VFP code. If you want to extend it with third-party libraries or even use .NET with .NET Bridge, literally anything you can write in Visual FoxPro can be put into a builder. All right, any questions before we go into building builders? No questions tomorrow?
Sorry. Yeah, no questions.
All right, thanks. All right, so building your own builders. When I talk about building your own, I'm talking from scratch, no frameworks, no anything. Literally, you assemble your own tools. So you have more control. You're going to easily be able to integrate with the builder implementation within Visual FoxPro by registering your builder into the registration table, the builder.dbf. You can literally write PRGs. You can write or create classes in BCXs or PRGs. You can build forms and SCX forms or apps or EXEs, anything you really want to do. You don't have to worry about customizing it to anyone's architecture but your own. And it's going to be completely educational. When I built my first builder, I learned a lot. some of the cons is it's definitely more grunt work. You have to build individual builders for each type of class, although I think that's pretty common for almost everything. Is every base class type or whatever you're going to build a builder for your needs. And doing an undo changes is something you got to do all your own. It's a little bit of a pain, but it's something you have to do. So let's just go into building a builder here. I'm just going to show you this checkbox. Microsoft didn't ship a checkbox builder, so I created this beautiful builder. I think you guys are all going to like this. I call this my Big Bird builder because of the color of Big Bird on Sesame Street being yellow. I made it yellow so that it would stand out to be not a Microsoft builder. Anyways, you can see here I've exposed 3 properties: the auto size property, the alignment property, and the back style property. I only gave myself 3 options. I didn't need the full allotment of options for a checkbox because I don't find the other ones useful for a checkbox, so I limited it. That's the idea of a builder, is being able to focus what you want it to do, or simplify what you want to interact with. So you're going to see when I pick middle right that it changes on the fly. Okay, it's because I have an object reference to that object on the designer in my builder. When I make changes, it's live. Okay, if I make it transparent, it turns transparent. Okay, so that's the idea of what a builder really can do, is actively change things. Now, this builder doesn't have the ability to undo. There's no cancel button here. I can click OK. What happens to the changes? Well, you're stuck with the changes in this case, but that's the way it goes. I have a label builder, and that label builder is gives me the ability to change the caption, change the name of the object. I can auto size it. I can make it, right aligned and whatnot. I can make it transparent. I can fix the name. Right now it's LBL base 1. I can actually do LBL, which is our prefix standard. And then I can also fix other things on it, like the font and the font size and so on. That's really not all that handy because I can do everything I just did there in the property sheet. But what happens if I click on the text box and the label, and now I run the builder? Okay, I'm now running, because it doesn't know which object that I'm running the builder for. I have to actually pick the builder in this case, but it's the same builder. The first one ran directly because I have it set up in the Builder X property to run that builder directly for that label. But now I have the ability to do some other stuff, like I'm going to auto size it, and then I'm going to fix the alignment. And it fixes the alignment because it knows both about the text box and the label. I can also do things when I fix the name. It'll allow me to actually change it to LBL last name, because this builder's smart enough to know that it's associated with the text box that has TXT last name. So I want the label to be assigned the similar name. Just a little bit of ideas of what you can do with builders that you do in code or with the property sheet or whatever that is tedious, but it helps you do things faster. All right. I canceled and it reverted everything back too. So that builder has all the cancel logic in it. So let's just take a quick look at just one of those 2 builders. I'm going to use the simple builder first, and as a checkbox builder. And I just want to show you a little bit of code, just so you get familiar with how things work. And in the load, I have a select object, getting a reference to that object and putting it into this dot a change, which is my array. I check the array to make sure that it's not illogical. If it's not illogical, that means that I have an object reference. I check to see if the base class is a checkbox. And if it is, I change the caption of the form to indicate what class I'm working with. That's all there is to that. And then the init. The only thing special about the init, and this is all in the white paper as well, is that if you run this builder or any builder from the builder registration table through the builder manager, it's going to require 9 parameters to be passed into it. Otherwise, you get the not enough parameters error messages. So even though I don't typically run this checkbox builder through the registration table, if I ever do, I'm able to do that with this. And that really is all there is to it for that. Now, the combo box, just so you can see the combo box, the control source for the combo box is the forms a change array dot alignment being the property I'm working with. That's all there is to binding that object reference to the property, so that when I make a change to this property, it's directly passing it through to the object on the designer. The rest of it is just standard combo box stuff. The auto size, the only special thing there is that the auto size property is on the array reference to the object. And that's it. So you can see, pretty simple. Get an object reference, set the control source for the different objects on your builder to that object reference dot property. And if you want to run dot write expression dot write method or whatever, that's directly how it works. No real magic once you understand how it is working. Any questions on building a builder like this?
Nope, nothing.
All right. Maybe I put everybody to sleep this morning. All right, Builder B. Builder B is a framework built in 1995 by the tool builder extraordinaire Ken Levy. It's a framework that removes some of the grunt work in building a builder. It has a consistent user interface. Every builder looks the same, with the exception of the UI elements that you add to it to expose the properties or work with your methods. It's very extendable. It's pretty easy to learn. It's integrated right into VFP. The builder manager understands it, and it's modeless. The builders I typically build by myself without the frameworks are modal, because I don't want to have to deal with synchronizing properties that I would be able to change on the property sheet or the form or whatever. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. The cons are that you need to create a builder for every class, which I think is almost common to everything. The framework is there. It is not hard, but you do have to learn it. The UI controls that are included with the builder, technology, are pretty incomplete. There's only a handful that you can use that are built in, but you can make your own as well. There's a timer that can get in the way, and it does not provide undoing changes, which is a bit of an annoyance to me for something that you may be, depending on the level of sophistication that you might be making changes to. So let's just take a look at Builder B. All right, so Builder B, let's do a demo first. So I'm going to right click on this. You can see in the property sheet here, oops, stop clicking that key, is that the builder property, which is a custom property, is set to Builder B example.vcx form, and then the form name spinner Builder B. Okay, that is a class that I built myself. All right, through the Builder B technology. All right, so if I right click on this, it's going to skip the registration and run the Builder B form. All Builder B forms have all the top part of this. All the toolbars or tool buttons on the top here are all the same. The page frame down on the bottom of the form is where you add your controls that you want to expose for the builder. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can open up, or you can copy this as a class. You can open the object or the class in the class browser. You can run add-ins, which I've never done an add-in before. You can actually run builders for this builder, and that will run a builder that you would have registered in your builder DBF registration table. Push pin here just keeps the form on top. and then help brings up a text file for help. All right, so if I go in and change any of these values, they're going to automatically be reflected. Now I can also jump in between here, and I could come in and change things through the property sheet if I want. Okay, it's all modeless, and that's one of the benefits of Builder B. All right, so if I run this edit box builder, it's just the same type of UI, just different things that I have set up. And you can see that if I change things like the scroll bars to be no scroll bars, it automatically reflects right back on the designer like a lot of builders do. Okay, here's one of the things that is a problem with Builder B. I'm going to drop down this and I'm going to type in Seago, but you can see it goes back to Tahoma. Why is it doing that? It's annoying to me, but the reason for that is to synchronize the changes that you may have made in the property sheet being modeless. A timer's running on the Builder B that will fire, it seems like every second or two, and it will literally reset all the settings that you have on your builder back to what's being reflected in the object. So in this case, it's just going to be easier for me to change the font by dropping it down, not trying to do the typing of the name. So just one of those little gotchas you have to worry about. Now the Builder B class library is where everything is in. The only other thing you have to worry about to run Builder Bs is you have to run the builderb.prg or do what's in builderb.prg before you run your builders, and that just basically adds the folder where the Builder B code resides to your path. Obviously, it needs to be able to find the class library and the components used for the Builder B. So anyways, here is the builder form. The builder form is what you're going to use to subclass your, you're going to subclass the builder form to start your Builder B builder. Okay. Once you do that, then you can take builder checkbox and builder label and builder text box and some of the subclasses for these and drop them onto your builders. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to bring up this, and I'm just going to open up my, which one do I want to do? Edit builder. All right, so I have my edit box builder here. You can see I edit on checkboxes, I edit on text boxes, and so on. I'm just going to come up here really quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you can do this as well. And I'm just going to grab this label. I'm going to drag it on and drop the label on. And I'm going to right click on this label. Oops, not double click. Right click on this label and run builder. What is that doing? Well, it's running another Builder B builder. Okay, that is Builder B, stands for builder builder. So it's basically running its own Builder B builder. And so we're using builders to build other builders. And that's the thing that's exciting about Builder B. Okay, so I can change the label VFF, and you can see back on the form, it's VFF. And that is really how you go about building Builder B builders. You can add in objects like this combo box. There is no Builder B combo box. This is just a standard native FoxPro combo box. You can add code in there. When you do that, use the white paper. It will show you or tell you how you go about binding to the object so that you have the object reference to reflect back to the designer. Okay, any questions on Builder B? I'm sorry I'm going fast, but this is everything is in the white paper that I'm maybe glossing over a little bit.
No questions, but a few people just confirming they're awake and paying attention.
All right, that's great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. All right, let's close this. And close this and this and that. All right, Builder D. Builder D is the next evolution of Builder B. You'll see some familiar UI look and feel of it. The Builder D, though, is Builder Data. It is completely data driven. It is a framework just like Builder B, although instead of subclassing the Builder B form or building a form itself, it literally builds the form on the fly using some metadata that you set up to drive that. It has a consistent user interface. It has less code. It's highly extensible. It's built into VFP, all the good things that you need it to do. Now, the cons are the metadata is really fairly complex. Now, is it hard to work with? No, it just takes some getting used to. It is a dynamic framework, but it's not as flexible as, say, building your own custom builder. And that is just a side effect, but I'm going to show you how simple it is to add stuff without doing a whole lot of work that gives you the dynamic part of that. The complication, I think, that's most difficult is if you're working in a team environment or you want to share your builder with the community, is the distribution, because it is metadata. You're not going to want to ship over your whole Builder DBF, so you have to come up with a way to export out the records for your builder. And it does, I initially had that you couldn't undo changes, but I found out recently during rehearsals over the weekend that you can actually undo changes, which I was unfamiliar with until today, until this weekend. So let's jump into Builder D. Now, Builder D, let's go into the data. Well, let's first do the demo. I'm just going to right click on this edit box. I run the builder, and you can see that it has back style, allowing tabs, integral height, Builder X, and mouse icon. Okay, that's it. It's got one page, has a few less buttons, but they do the same thing as the other Builder B class. But none of this is hard coded into any form. I can't open up source to look at this particular builder. There is no source for it. Okay, so I'm going to close that. And I'm going to open up my metadata editor, and we're going to go to the Builder D tab. And we're going to right click, and I'm going to do edit base, which is the name of that class. And I'm looking for the record for edit base. This edit base class is pretty straightforward. The name of it is edit base, and it's located in this class library. Now, this brings out an important point with Builder D as far as flexibility. So my class library is in this location, but if I decide that I'm going to refactor and move edit base to a different BCX, now I have to come in and modify the metadata to point to that other class library. Now, if you click on this hyperlink class, it will let you select a class so you can go relocate it. Just some of the simplifications I made for this developer tool. Down below is the links. Now, the links are mostly PEMs, properties, events, and methods. And these are the items that are actually exposed on the builder. Now, if I come in here and do builder property and the control source property, I now added 2 items to that. I'm going to save that because this is all buffered. I don't make any changes that I can't undo here. And then I come back, bring that down, and I right click and then run this builder again. Now you can see the builder, and it created a page 2, which is where control source is. So you can see how easy it is to add new properties to the builder. Now, I'm showing you a very simple example. If you look at the metadata that's involved with Builder D, a lot of the Fox Foundation classes, the FFCs, if you look at those, you'll see that those have Builder D builders associated with them. And some of the sophistication that's built into Builder D, I can't even begin to dive into it in a 75-minute session, unfortunately. But the idea here is you come into your into your table. You have classes. You set up links. These links can be linked to what are known as property records. The property records allow you to customize some of the UI for that particular object. So in the case of caption wide, if you use caption wide as a property for one of your properties you expose, you can actually go in and set up the width, the height, the top, and so on. If you want to make combo boxes, you can determine the row source type and what the row source is for that particular object on your builder. So you can also put in, you can specify a help file. This is a CHM help file. And some of the builders that are set up for some of the Fox Foundation classes have links into the FoxPro help file, and so on. Lots of power, but also you have to make sure with lots of power that you can set it up right. And I will tell you that, as I mentioned earlier, builderd.dbf has to reside in the wizards folder for things to work. There's no pointer in Fox user to builderd at this time. I think that's all time I have for this. Any questions on builderd?
Nope. A little bit of discussion in chat, but no questions.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's it for now. It's as much time as I have, unfortunately. All right, property editors. Now, property editors were introduced in Visual FoxPro 9, and they are also in VFP Advanced as well. The property editors are kind of, you're using the same technology under the hood as you would a builder, like getting the select object, a select object, and so on. But the implementation is more along the lines of builderd in that you define records in the Fox code, which is the IntelliSense table. And that's the way Microsoft built it. You'll see it's not very difficult to set up. You just have to understand the inner workings of it. It typically will work, a property editor will typically work with one property, but it is not a limitation. You can have, when you click on the property editor button in the property sheet, which you'll see in a minute, you can have it run any code that you write, and it can modify half a dozen properties and generate some code and stuff that into an event method if you want it to do that. There's no limitations on that. You don't have to think singularly with it, is what I'm trying to say. It works with Microsoft's intrinsic properties, but in my opinion, the power behind property editors is with your custom properties. Things that you're probably already using, the anchor editor, the caption property editor, and the member data editor, which is the property editor for underscore member data, all ship out of the box with VFP 9. So let's take a quick examples. All right, so we're going to get this down here, and we're going to come up to the caption property. We have a form back here that has a bunch of objects on it, which are just straightforward base classes dumped on with default names and all that. Something that I'm definitely not going to have in my source code for our application, but it works great for demoing. So the property editor for caption is built into VFP, ships out of the box. And what it does is it enables this ellipsis button. That is what will tell you visually that you have a property editor for that property. If I come down to height, it doesn't have a property editor assigned yet. So if I come up to the caption and I click on the button, it brings up the super sophisticated input box, and that literally is what it is. I can type in, XXX and click OK. The property gets changed. If I double click on the property, it also runs the property editor. Okay, so that's how that works. That's generally how property editors operate. Now I'm going to come up to this text box which is bound to this form.c customer number. And I'm coming to the name. Text 1 is not conform to my naming standards. I have a property editor that is called Apply Naming Standards. That property editor runs when I double click on name. It changes it to form with the 3-letter prefix that is standard for us. And then it goes into the control source and says, hey, if you've got something there, I can strip off the camel case prefix letter and just use the rest of it as is and name the property. I use this property editor all day and all night after dropping on controls onto a form. Okay, that's one of my favorite things to do. Editor here, this edit box here, if I did that, it just names it to be edit 1 because that's the name of what it was. It's not bound to anything, so it doesn't know anything to go through with. But when it really boils down to that, I think is super important is being able to extend these for your custom properties and making it simple. So if I come up to, if I select an object here, one of my favorite things to be able to do, let's go into layout, show all, oops. Come into the property sheet and double click on a logical and toggle it. I do that all the time. It's really simple to do. But if I come into a custom property, wouldn't it be great if I could just double click on that and have it toggle as well? You know, sometimes you can. Okay, I've actually set up a logical toggle property that all I have to do is tell it which logical properties I want, and it will toggle them. And these are custom properties. These are not intrinsic properties. So let's go in and see how you put those together. So on the metadata editor, we have a property editor page. It also handles menu hits and menu context, which is another part of the blowing the doors off extensibility of Visual FoxPro and BFP9, but we are not going to address in this particular session. For the properties, you basically have to look for the e-records, and the e-records will be set up for each property that you want to have a property editor for. So in this case, there's member data basically, and in the member data, it tells the property that I'm working with, which is my L security enabled. I'm displaying it with my camel case, and then the script to run my property editor in this particular case is running the IntelliSense Manager code, passing it in a run property editor property along with the property that I want to expose. Now, this is running some code that then looks at the command that you have set up. And in this case, the command is a script that's also stored in the IntelliSense file. This also could be just a PRG if you have it in your in the tip column. You could have it, instead of saying do code sense, you can actually say do my property editor.app, okay, or my apply naming standards property editor.prg, whatever you want it to do. All right, the script file defines script in the data column of the IntelliSense. And all there really is to this is what you see in builders. I mean, a lot of this is wrapper code and protective defensive code, but it checks to see if an object is selected in the designer. It goes in and grabs the value by using that object reference and the property name that's passed in. And then it goes through and loops through all the objects that are in the aSelect objects array. And it checks to see if there's a property of that kind, defined on that object. And if it does, it then sets it. And in my case, for a logical, I want to toggle it. So I set the property to not what it was before. So true becomes false and false becomes true. I also set it up that if the property was somehow referencing itself to be character representation of true and false, I can also toggle it back to true and false. Okay, so that's all there really is to it. It is not something that's easy when you first get started, but once you do a few, it's like, okay, this is pretty straightforward. If I look at some of the other ones that Microsoft ships, like Anchor is running the Anchor editor. And so the metadata there is for the script is to run the Anchor editor.app. So that's not even running the IntelliSense Manager. It's just directly running the Anchor editor. And then the Anchor editor has smarts in it to grab the object reference and run the Anchor editor and then set the property to what you set in the Anchor editor. Okay. Let's see if I wanted to show anything else. I think I'm good. Any questions on property editors?
No questions, but I'll comment that a long time ago, I built a little tiny property editor for caption that just goes in to set the width correctly because I don't want to live with auto size on. And that little bit of code I've now used over and over in other property editors where I'm dealing with complex controls where there are labels inside them and I want to set a property of the container and then have it set the label inside and so forth. Once you start playing with these, they're unbelievably powerful.
A perfect example, Tamara, of a property editor working on multiple properties, right? So yeah, hopefully you'll come up with some other ideas, and I'm going to be super interested to hear on stuff that you guys are working on for this as well. All right, Thor. Thor is from VFPX. If you're not familiar with Thor, I suggest you go to vfpx.org, download it, install it, and see what it can do for you. But Thor, which is unfortunately outside of the scope of the session here, has changed the way I build tools that I use within the Visual FoxPro IDE. I mean, I had to look it up. Thor has been around for 9 years already, which kind of is mind-blowing when you think about it. I will also tell you that when Jim Nelson, who's the father of Thor, along with several other people, Doug, Matt Slay, and a whole bunch of other developers who have built tools within Thor, sent this to me, I was like, yeah, I already have my menu. I have my developer menu that has everything on it. I wasn't getting the power of Thor, and you'll see in a minute why I think the power of Thor has changed the way I work internally in FoxPro. Builders can be ported to Thor. In fact, builders can be run from Thor the same way you can run them from the command window or a menu, which Thor has a menu and also has a toolbar and a launcher that we'll see in a minute. So can you migrate your builders to run directly from Thor? And the answer is yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be wasting my time with this topic in the session, right? So let's jump in and take a look at Thor. So Thor, you've been seeing Thor in action throughout this presentation because Thor is the menu that I've been using here for running my demos. So here's some builders or some forms I'm going to run some builders from. Here's that spinner, and if you remember correctly, I ran the spinner. It's a builder bee builder that I built for it. But I can also by clicking on this button here that I have set up on the Thor toolbar. This will run the builder or builder X builder automatically. So I don't have to right click. I can just click on this button, or I could hotkey it in Thor so that I don't even have to click on a button, or I can run it from Thor, my builders, to run my builder here. Okay, or if that's not enough, you can run the launcher. You can type in under the filter, builder, and I can run the builder runner and run that builder from Thor to do the launcher. So there's no, I mean, it's totally flexible in the way that you can actually run these builders from Thor inside of or from Thor, and you can hotkey them and make it much easier than even right-clicking and running builder. So Thor just gives you a way to do that. And what I've been doing, instead of writing builders in a traditional sense, I'm still using the same techniques, using a select object and all the toolkit for that. But what I'm doing instead is I'm writing Thor tool. So it's just really quickly take a look at one. Well, first of all, I want to run this font setter, which I have directly set to run the font setter. Everyone's built a form like this where you use like 50 different fonts on the various controls, right? It is not something that I'm doing this to be really obvious that the fonts are all different, but the fact is when I take over projects, I will find that there'll be slight nuances to the fonts and font sizes that drive me crazy. So I can just click one button and it changes and drills into all the containers and changes all the fonts. That's through a builder. Okay, so let's just take a look at how you do things in Thor really quickly because it's running out of time, as usual. So this is a Thor configuration screen. Oops, not builders. So I'm just going to run the builder X. I think that's, yeah, let's do this one. This tool, to do Thor really quickly, you set up the prompt. That's going to be your menu prompt. You set up your status bar. All this is configuration stuff at the top or registration information. Thor runs all the PRGs that you have created for each of the tools in Thor. And the registration runs when Thor runs. And so you're just setting up what shows up on the menus and so on. The rule code is in the tool code procedure. And you'll see here that I just do an a select objects. And I double check to see if the object reference is not illogical. And I run a procedure called set font all. If not, I try to drill into another level. A select objects will allow you to try the container that you right clicked on to run the builder. And you can get an object reference to that container and then run the set font all. And the set font all just goes in and uses a Fox Foundation class called set all X. And you instantiate that object. I'm working with the object reference to make sure that I have or determine the number of objects I'm going to work with. And then I just create a loop to loop through all of them and run the set all X to set the font name to the font name that I want. And later I can set the font size that I want. So really that's all there is to it. You're just writing more code for each individual tool. Okay. Any questions on using Thor? I wish I had an hour and a half to talk just about Thor, but unfortunately not today.
Nope, no questions.
No questions.
Oh, wait. So just got, I'm not sure it's a question, but a comment. Would be nice to have positioning, alignment, etc. of controls based on style guide options, like label top +3 compared to associated text box, top and other appearance issues.
Yep, that sounds like a perfect tool for a builder. Enforcing Windows standards. It makes logical sense to me. Yep, and that could easily be done. I mean, it can be done. I'm not going to say easily because that's probably a bad term, because it would be a very sophisticated builder. All right. In a little bit of time that we have left, I want to show some real world builders that I use all the time. My project builder, the tab order builder, some of these other ones I've already shown. I'm not going to have time for the Stonefield Grid Builder. The Stonefield RI Builder, if you're using Visual FoxPro data and you have referential integrity in it, and you're not using the Stonefield RI Builder, you're doing yourself a disservice. Doug took the RI Builder that Microsoft shipped and used Steve Sawyer's RI code, which is way less verbose and makes it much cleaner. It's a superior RI builder. The control changer builder is something Tamar wrote. I wanted to demo that, but I don't have my test code for Tamar's builder. But basically, it takes things like text 1, it allows you to rename it to something more meaningful, and then it goes and searches all the code for text 1 for that text 1 object only, and fixes the code to reflect the proper name that you renamed it to. And it's very powerful. It's not something you use all the time, but when you run into other people's code where they did not name their objects, it's ideal for it. So let's go in and do some demos. That's not the one I wanted to do first. Let's do the other one first. So the project builder, you right click on the project on the menu builder and you pick project or builder, and you can run builder and it will run the project builder that I have set up. Okay, what my project builder is doing is consolidating all the different dialogues that you have when you right click or you do the build, and you got the version, you got the various comments, company, and so on, your copyright. It just puts it all in one dialogue, allows you to click build, and it runs it. It also can let you register the builder, which most of my builders, I didn't mention this earlier, most of my builders have a self-register method to them that will allow you to just run the builder and it will register itself, which is going to save those who use the builders some time. Anyway, so this builder can be run, as you can see, off the project manager, but I could also run it off of the Project Explorer, which is the new project manager replacement that Doug wrote. It has a button called PB, and when I run that, it gives me my project builder. I believe this was created, this add-in was actually created by Rick Borup, who the Project Explorer has add-ins. I can also run it from the Thor toolbar, and all I did was click a button on the Thor toolbar and run it. So I have this exposed everywhere so that I don't have to struggle in how I run the project builder. As you can see, it runs with the Project Explorer, the Project Manager as well. The other builder I use all the time is my tab order builder. I don't really use tab order. Tab order here, if I use it, I don't use interactive very often because it's usually very difficult with multiple things. I typically use the tab order list. Now, the tab order list back in the day, when you move things like this, the icon for the object would overwrite all the object icons. And that was the thing that really drove me crazy. So I wrote a builder called the tab order builder. And that is the same thing. It just gives you the ability to change things, commit the change. You don't have to commit it, go out and come back in. You can reorder things however you want, commit it, and so on. It gives you the by row, by column ability to do all that. And you can configure it to log errors and do all kinds of other things. I use this builder far more frequently than most of my other builders because I'm anal about tab orders. It also works if you are inside of a control, a container control. And if I right click on this page, it gives me the page version of the tab order builder. And I can now reorder the objects on that page. So very cool. It's a very sophisticated builder. One of the more complex builders I've written because it's got a ability to undo, cancel your changes, and so on. And so anyways, it's just something that for your things to consider. Boy, time. What am I going to do? Object builder. So one of the things that I've been showing a lot of interaction with the designers, but the designers, it's not just tied to the designers. I mentioned about writing method code and so on. One of the builders that I built does that. It's the object builder doc header. I have object builders that do other things, sophisticated things that are custom to specific scenarios that wouldn't make sense in a general developer sense. But if I need to add something to a whole bunch of classes, I might write a PRG that does that programmatically and then go through the class, have it scroll through the project file and then open up the various forms or PRGs and add code programmatically. In this case, I just have an object builder that does a document header. When I run that, it's going to create a method called zzAbout, and this is used for documentation for the class. And if I come in here, you can see that it added the method to the class, to the form in this case, and it then put in my standard header along with the date and the initials and so on. So it gives you an idea of programmatically doing things that you take time doing. Now, can you do something like this with IntelliSense? You could, but it's not going to go in and add the method and then add the code. So if you have code or methods already created, you can use IntelliSense to generate things like this documentation header just as quick. So it's something that you just have to find a balance between things that you would do in IntelliSense versus things that you would do with builders or property editors for that matter. All right, any questions on some real world builders?
I don't see any.
Okay, so I am going to talk about the metadata editor really quick. Just a couple of things that I want to point out. All the grids have grid extras from Craig Boyd on them so that you can sort the column by clicking on the header and so on. Each of them have the ability to right click and do filters and searches. You can even output to a report. The dialog is completely resizable. It's all buffered. It allows you to add records, delete records, modify, duplicate the records. So if you want to use something to start the next thing that you want to build from an existing thing, you can do that. You can show deleted records if you want. You can back up the metadata, which takes the builder DBF, the wizard DBF, the builder DDBF, the Fox code IntelliSense files, and puts them with copies of those into the Home 7 folder with a date timestamp on it, so you can have multiple generations of the backup files and so on. I use this all the time when I'm working with the metadata. It's just so much better than browsing it. I almost was going to call this Hack Builder, but it does more than builders. It does the wizards and everything else. So I didn't do that. All right. Resources. Again, this white paper, I encourage you to read it. If you want everything out of this session, you have to read the white paper. I could probably have done easily 2 hours on the session to do everything I wanted to show. Please read it if you want more information. VFPX has the X source, which is where all the builders and wizards source is. It's where I got the builder manager source initially. I will be posting all the tools and source for the builder manager changes to a repository and to the downloads for this session. It hasn't been done yet. because I have things in various places and it was more complicated to put together than I thought. The website for White Light has things like the tab order builders on there. Doug's prolific in writing. He has 3 really good articles on builders that I encourage you to read as well. The Hacker Guide, which is now on GitHub, in case you didn't know, is also got information on builders. The Fox Wiki is my go-to source for all things FoxPro related. The Level Extreme has downloads. The Fox Talk and Fox Rocks article archives have lots of articles, as does FoxPro Advisor. Hopefully you got to be introduced to technology today for builders, the wizards, property editors, and Thor. Hopefully I didn't speak too quickly. I apologize for trying to cram this into 75 minutes. I did my best to give you at least enough to hopefully inspire you to go do some of this for yourself. And if you build something really cool, share it with the world. I really am glad that you picked this session and sat in on it. I would be very grateful if you filled out your evaluations and gave me your feedback on how I did today. And have a great rest of the conference, people. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the Q&A session.